right, so we had a huge package come in today. Basically, all the steering components came in. So all of this stuff came from the East West Off-Road, and I'll put a link in the description below if you want to check it out. But basically, I know it's kind of messy right now, but basically it comes with all of this right here. It comes with new knuckles that are drilled and tapped already to accept the new high steer arms. It comes with ball joints. It comes with the bungs to weld in the DOM. It comes with the high steer studs. Basically everything that you need comes with this kit except for the spindle studs. So you can see right here, these are the spindle studs that we have to remove. And these can be hit out with a good mallet or maybe a brass punch, but these are not wanting to come out. So we already got those out, and now we have to get these out. So what I did was I hit it with some of that good right there. And now we're gonna go over to the press and press these out. But I'm not gonna press them out the way that you think I'm gonna press them out, because so whenever you put things in a press, it has to be perfectly straight, perfectly centered. Well, I don't have time for all that. So let me show you how I got these out really quick. So most of the time, whenever I try to press stuff out, I try to do it like this, but you really can't do it with this Harbor Freight press just because there's not really a whole lot of options whenever you're setting this up. And plus, whenever you put pressure on it, it wants to walk over. So what I did, so I just flipped it over. I found a 3/4 inch impact socket, and I'm just gonna slowly start pressing down on this. So as you can see, I have the impact socket right there in between some two studs, and I have it pretty much squared on here. And now I'm just going to start slowly pushing down. So as you can see, those studs have already busted loose. See that? See how easy that was? And of course the ball joint's in the way on that one. So basically I'm just going to walk this thing around and do the same thing, and just watch how simple this comes out. Just like that. All right, so now I'm just going to get these last two out. As you can see, got them all out. So didn't mess up any threads. I didn't have to hammer them out. Didn't have to do anything dramatic or anything like that. But now I just have to clean these up because they are super dirty. All right, so now that we have all of these studs right here seated, and we just verified that they're all seated, now we're going to install the ball joints. And we have the lower ball joint, and then we have the upper ball joint. So we're gonna start with the lower here, and I'm just gonna take off the nut and take off that grease boot. And then I just like to take a little bit of red and tacky and just put on here. It just helps the seating process. It might not help at all, but I just like doing it. But we're gonna slide this in here like that. Now, all right, so we got the ball joint press set up. And we're just going to make sure that this is going down evenly right there. On the bottom of this right here, you've just got some snap rings. You just got to pop on now. Sweet. So this is where that grease fitting goes. I'm not going to put that on just yet, just because I'm going to be moving this around and I don't want to break it off or mess it up or anything like that. So I'm just going to wait until I get it in the vehicle, and I'm just going to wait until I get ready to grease them before I put on that grease fitting. So I'm gonna put that on right there. And now we're gonna do the same thing with this one, with the upper. Just take off that nut, take off the boot, put some good old red and tacky on here. It's really nice putting like all brand new parts together. So I have these perfectly seated, got the O-ring on the upper and on the bottom. So now we can work on getting the studs in for right here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some Loctite in these holes, and then we're gonna start putting these studs in.
I'm gonna start throwing it to you. I'm gonna need some Loctite and throw it to you.
I'm gonna need some Loctite. I need some Loctite. So these are the studs that'll be going in. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these tightened down. And then we're gonna work on getting the hub assembly ready to go back on, and the spindle. All right, this is one of those jobs that just kind of really just sucks, I'm gonna be honest with you. But it's one of those things you just gotta embrace the suck and just get through with it, and then when you're done, it's done and you know everything's good. But basically, this is the hub right here. This is the seal. You got your bearings in there and 2 races. So this is your inner bearing, and then your outer bearing, actually, I've already took it out. It'll just fall out once the hubs are off. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take this seal, I'm gonna take the seal out, and then I'm gonna start driving these races out. And this is gonna be a really, really messy job, but that's okay. That's what we do here. So normally I would be using a seal puller, but I broke it while doing something not for a seal. I was doing something dumb with it, so we're just doing this. And hopefully it'll come right out. All right, I'm not sure where that went. So now we take these old bearings, and you can see and probably smell, if you get close enough to your screen, how bad condition these are in. But these are pretty much no good. They've got some pitting. You see right there, they got pitting on the bearings. It's not good, Patrick.
As far as I know, they're from 77.
What I'm gonna try to do is just get out all of this old nasty grease, and it's one of those things, you want this as clean as possible. It's not gonna be perfect. Well, I'm not gonna do it perfect, but I'm gonna do my best to get it as clean as I can. Did I get you?
Did I get you dirt?
Did I get you dirt? So look at all that. That's not what you want with new bearings. So I'm gonna clean this up the best that I can, and then we'll get these races out. So I've got this as clean as I'm gonna get it. You can see all my dirty paper towels right there. That's probably about as much effort as I'm gonna do with cleaning this. But now I need to get these races out. So I have this random piece of metal that I use to get races out. And you can just kind of push it in there and put it on the back side of that race, because now that you've cleaned it, you should be able to see the back side of the race and where this needs to get driven out. So I'm gonna pop that right there, and then I'm gonna take a large hammer and just beat the crap out of it. I've got all of the races out, and now I'm just going to take my chilled new race and just put a little bit of grease around it. It's very, very cold. Maybe I'll put grease in here. So yeah, I'll put fresh grease in here, just like that. So now I'm going to take this race and drop in, just like so. And the reason I put them in the freezer is just because it shrinks them down and just makes them just go in a little bit easier. So I'm gonna take this seal driver, I'm gonna take this race driver and go ahead and drive this race in and get it seated. So as you can see, I have the race all seated. It went down just nice. So now I'm gonna flip this over. And, oh, it's still in the freezer, hold on. So here is the new outer race. I'm just gonna get some grease in there. The grease just helps it just seat a little easier. So hopefully, I can just drop it right on in. Get my right seal, just like that. So whenever you drive these in, you can actually hear them seat. You know, you could tell once I was hitting it, it was like tong, tong, tong. It was like ka-tong. That means it's pretty much seated. But what I like to do is I'll take a flashlight and just shine on the inside and just make sure that all of those races are seated before I, you know, finish putting everything together. But now we have to get these bearings in. And I'm gonna start with the back one right here, just because it's a little easier to get to. So this is one of the few times that you'll see me actually wear gloves on this channel. So I'm gonna be packing these bearings, and I feel like this is like a dying art, but what you do is you just take a good old heaping of grease and put it just like that. And some of you youngsters may never seen this done, but what you do is you take the bearing and you start kneading it into the grease. Just like that. You start pushing. And what you're doing is you're taking the grease and you're pushing through the bearings. Just like that. So just take it and just run it up in there. Just take it, just like that, and just start pushing. So what you'll do is you'll start seeing the grease come through the bearing just like right there, and that's what you want. So then what you do is you start spinning it just like that, and what that's doing is it's introducing grease to every single one of those rollers in the bearing, which will prolong the life of this bearing by a long time. Now I'm just getting crazy, hold on. Yeah, so just start pushing it. You see how it's coming up right there? That's what you want. So I'm gonna keep on just pressing the grease into this bearing, and then we'll get it in. So now that I have the bearings all greased, I'm going to take the seal and just rub some grease on the edge of it, just to make sure she's all greased up. The name of the game with these seals right here is that it goes down evenly. And a lot of times they don't like going down evenly. So I'm just gonna pop this on there and see if I can just slowly get it started. Got that sealed, just making sure, just verifying that there's no tears or anything in that seal. And so now we need to get the high steer steering arm on the axle, and then we can put this on that. So now let's go over to the truck. All right, so now Patrick is going to be putting on the steering knuckle. You did tighten up those threads, didn't you?
These?
Yeah. Okay. It's your truck. I don't care if you tighten it up or not. All right, so now we're putting the high steer arm on, just like that. And he's putting in the tapered washers in there, and the nuts. Here, put that on. Whether it's blue or red, just something. So now that we have this all torqued down, we're going to be getting ready to put the spindle back on. So what I like to do before I put spindles back on is just go around and just put a little thin layer of anti-seize. Just a little thin layer, just enough to say that there's some on there. And I like to go ahead and put some on the bolts too. So I forgot to film this, but I did put a new bearing, needle bearing in the spindle right here. And then I did put just a little layer of anti-seize on the back. And on the axle shaft itself, I just like to put a good layer of red and tacky on here, especially where everywhere it's going to be contacting. And it's just good practice. You don't have to put gobs of it up here, but you want it evenly coated, just about like that. So now I've got to get the seal put in, just like that for that needle bearing. And now I'm going to slide this on. And sometimes these can be a pain in the butt. Like right now. So now that I have this seated, I'm going to go ahead and put this dust shield on. And that's pretty much what holds the brakes and everything. So I'm going to take these 6 nuts and put on these bolts. We'll go ahead and torque these down, and then we'll get that hub on. Alright, so now that I have all these torqued down, I am about to put this hub on, and Patrick is going to get my hub for me. But before I do that, I'm just going to put some wheel bearing grease on this whole spindle, just to make sure everything is nice and lubricated. There's a little bit of anti-seize in there too, but that's okay. So I'm just going to slide this on like so. There we go. Now that I have this seated, I need to go ahead and seat the bearings onto the spindle, and I'm going to do that by using these spindle nuts. And so this is the one that goes on first, and you know that because it has the little the ear that comes off right there, or the nipple right there. So we're going to put that on. I like to get them started by hand first. You can cross thread a spindle, and then you have a huge nightmare on your hands. You don't want to use a screwdriver or anything. I've done it before, but you don't want to do that. Go ahead and get you a good locking, four-wheel drive spindle nut socket. So what I like to do is go ahead and torque this down. So I'm just slowly tightening, and as I'm tightening, I'm spinning. You want to spin back and forth. You see all that play? So there's still plenty of play left. So I'm going to keep tightening. So you definitely don't want to over tighten these, because it'll lead to premature failure on your bearings. But you don't want them too loose either, because you'll have bad steering and it'll also wear out your spindle. I'm going to spin this back and forth. Just like that. Just keep spinning. And I'm just making sure that it's not shaking back and forth. And then I'm going to torque it down. Torque it. So you can see right there, it's torqued down. And now I'm going to back it off a quarter turn. So right now I'm at about east, and I'm going to go north, just like that. And I'm going to spin, just making sure nothing's bound up or anything like that. And now I'm gonna put this washer on. And so this washer is special because it has multiple spots for that nipple to go. And then it has this keyway right there at the top. And so that keyway slides on, and you have, so say if the nipple, if it lands in one of these holes, that's great. You can go ahead and put the final locking nut on. But if not, you can just kind of spin it one way or the other. It really doesn't matter. Most of the time I try to tighten mine, and I just try to, just go to the one that it's closest to. I don't try to over tighten it. I don't want it like super loose. So that's gonna be your call, but I'm gonna have to get on the ground. Let's see, my nipple is right at 45 degrees.
That's what she said.
So let's see how close we are. So I did have to tighten it just probably, just a little bit, a hair of a turn. And I can see in there that it's completely seated. Here, I'll show you. So you can see right in there, you got the keyway, it's locked in right there. And then the keyway is, the nipple is right there and the keyway is on top. Final spindle nut on, and I'm just gonna get it started by hand. So I'm gonna torque it down, and as I'm just tightening it up, I'm still spinning. And what that's doing is that's seating those bearings. So this is probably gonna be the easiest part right here, is I'm taking these Warren selectable hubs that Patrick bought, and you just got to get everything lined up just like that. Just kind of push it in, get rid of that extra grease. These really don't need that much grease. So I'm gonna take this locking ring right there, pop that in, just like that. I did put a little bit of layer of grease around it. And now I need to push out the axle shaft, just enough to get this snap ring on. So you're gonna open that up, just like that. Make sure that's seated, and it is. And now we're gonna take the actual locking hub itself, and it's got 3 little pieces right there that go into those slots, just like so. And this does have an O-ring, and I just like to put a little bit of grease all around that O-ring. That way I'm not putting it in dry.
That's what she said. Or he said.
Just lining this up. Just like so. Now I can start the Allen screws. And now I'm just gonna, I like to tighten these up. I like to get them all started in a star pattern. And then I also like to tighten these up in a star pattern. So you don't want to crank down on this one and you don't even have this one started. You want this to go down evenly, and you can accomplish that by just doing it in a crisscross pattern like you would like lug nuts. All right, so I've got the brakes all on the axle, and now I'm gonna work on getting the steering pitman arm on. And this is the new one that came with the kit. So what I did was I put some anti-seize on right there, and I'm just gonna slide that on. Yep, as good as I can. Hopefully it'll stay. And then I'm gonna be putting some Loctite, a lot of Loctite on the pitman arm nut, because you do not want this, you do not want that loosening up. So, and then I'm using the anti-seize because you don't want that to seize up. So we're using a lot of fluids. So we do have the steering wheel secured on the inside. We got a seatbelt wrapped through it just to make sure that in all of this right here, we haven't spun it or anything, especially when you take that steering shaft out like we did. Like if something happens and the steering wheel just spins, whenever you put it back on, you could actually break the clock ring on the inside, and it just messes everything up internally. So whenever you do stuff with the steering wheel like that, just make sure that you secure the steering wheel so that it doesn't turn. So now I'm gonna go ahead and torque this on down, and then we'll work on getting the steering on. All right, so I have the pitman arm nut all tightened down and torqued down, and now we're gonna figure out the steering. So whenever you do steering, you need to have the vehicle sitting on its own weight. And since we have it on a lift, we actually have the jack stands underneath it. We're actually gonna bring the lift all the way back down so that the full weight of the vehicle is on the suspension. So that way we can get the proper measurements for the drag link and the proper measurements for the tie rod. So that's what we're gonna do now, is just go ahead and get the truck all the way on these jack stands. So we have the truck on its own weight, and now I'm gonna be using these alignment tools that I got from bleepingjeep.com. These things are a lifesaver here in the shop. They make alignments and setting up steering so much easier. And so Patrick is putting one on the other side. I'm putting this side on. And because of the truck is sitting on its own weight, we can go ahead and do an alignment right here on the truck without even taking it anywhere to get it done. So as soon as we put the steering on, it's going to be aligned. So that's what we're going to work on now. We've just got to get everything just kind of squared up, and then we've got to just toe it in about 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch, and then we'll know where to cut and weld the new steering. We got the truck all aligned up. We got the toe in about 1/16, but we're gonna give ourselves some room for adjustment, obviously, with the tie rod. So now we're gonna get a measurement from the center hole of this drag link to the center hole of that hole over there. You center that hole?
Yep. Yeah.
All right, I am 43 1/8. All right, so now that we have the measurements, I'm going to go ahead and figure out where I need to cut this DOM down. So by the looks of the kit online, it looks like these two ends right here are for the tie rod, and then the other two ends, which I'll show you in a second, are for the drag link. So I've got my measurement right here, and what I like to do is I like to run these about halfway down, just kind of in the middle. That way it gives me the most use of the threads. So I'm going to measure this out. Let's see, 55 3/4. 55 3/4, which is right there. So I'll stick one of these in just like that, and I like to do and whenever I'm pulling measurements, I like to get the center point of that measurement right there. Basically the center point of the tie rod end. That's where I'm going to be pulling measurements from. So I'm just getting this squared up, getting that at 0, and then I can come right here, the center point right there at 55 3/4, and then I'm going to take it back and mark right here. I'm going to mark right there where that bung lands, so that I know now when I cut this piece of metal and stick this bung in, then this whole assembly here will be 55 3/4 inches long. So I'll kind of give you a POV of what I got going on. So I have that at 0 right there, center of that tie rod end. And then you come all the way down here, which is 55 3/4. And what I like to do when I mark DOM is I like to do a V. So sometimes, I see people, they'll do a line or something like that. Well, I don't know if I need to cut in the center line, this side of the line, that side of the line. But with the V, I know to cut exactly where those two lines intersect, and you can get a perfect cut every time. So just using my bandsaw to get this cut. All right, so I have the DOM cut down, and I did do a bevel around the edges. If you don't know what a bevel is, basically I just took my sander and just went all the way around. That way it's more of a tapered edge like this one. That way whenever I weld it, I'm getting a better penetration inside. That way I'm welding inside of that crease instead of just welding on top of it. It kind of gives a better grab for the weld, which makes it stronger. So I put both of these tie rod ends in and I measured it and I got a perfect 55 3/4. I'm gonna throw a tack weld on and then we'll go to the truck and make sure that it fits nice. So as you can see here, it went on just fine, and I made sure that the truck is still aligned, making sure I hadn't, knocked it with something. But so I think this is gonna work. So I'm gonna take this back off and then I'm gonna fully weld it. And then while this is cooling down, I'm going to start working on that drag link. So I've seen a lot of confusion online about where these actually go. So what you want is you want the tie rod behind the drag link. No, I don't know why I'm pointing right here. Behind the drag link. So the drag link is going to go from this pitman arm to the front of the other side of this steering arm. But you want these to be perfectly in line with each other. See how that's perfectly straight? Basically, with steering, you want everything as parallel and straight as possible, and that's going to give you the best steering capabilities possible for your rig. So this one right here, like I said, the drag link is going to come off the pitman arm and it's going to go all the way to the front side of that high steer arm, while this is on the back side. So you can see I've got good penetration on both sides, and that's what you want. So I'm going to spin it and then I'm going to weld this back side, that way it doesn't try to pull, and then we'll jump to the other side. So now that I have that painted, I'm gonna let it dry, and now I'm gonna work on getting this drag link made. And I'm just gonna do the same exact method as I did for this, for that drag link. So I'll check back with y'all in a couple minutes. All right, so I have the tie rod back in here and it's pretty dry, dry enough to handle. But so now we're gonna get these tie rod ends inside of the actual tie rod itself. But before I do that, you know me, I've got to put some anti-seize in there. You will be really surprised how quick this stuff can rust up, especially sitting outside and mess like that. And if you go through mud and dirt, this stuff will be completely seized up. So that's about halfway right there, but I'm gonna go a little bit past it and then I'm gonna back it off a little bit. That way that anti-seize is getting on both sides of those threads for sure. So just gonna go back and forth, just working it, just working it. So I have this measured back out to 55 3/4. So now I'm gonna take it to the truck and go ahead and install this. Oh, it's really heavy. Oh, crap. Look at that. So now I'm going to get the nuts on the bottom right here, and then I'll probably go ahead and torque them down, but I'm not going to tighten down this jam nut just yet because I'm going to do one final alignment once I have the drag link and the tie rod on. Well, I was having a lot of issue getting this front tire on, and I thought I was just being crazy. But check this out. So, yeah, the wheel is contacting the steering arms. And it's doing it on this side as well. Not as bad as this side. Oh, man. What to do? So, yeah, may have to run some wheel spacers on the front. And so as you can see, got plenty of clearance now. Did 1-inch wheel spacer on that side. And so now we can actually put this thing down on its own weight. And I don't know if I showed y'all, but Patrick found a red hood that's not the dumb cowl induction hood. And I don't know, I feel like that red hood looks a million times better. We got to put the grill back in. I think he's going to be doing some painting on that grill. And of course the domino sign is a nice touch. But I'm going to get this thing down on its own weight. I'm going to torque down the lug nuts and then may back this thing out of the shop and see what it looks like. So Patrick is at work today. He doesn't even know that his truck is done and pulled out of the shop and pretty much ready to go. Or he's going to be super excited when he gets here this afternoon and sees that his truck is all ready to go. I say all ready to go, but I do need to go back over the lug nuts before he leaves, and I want to make sure that the leaf spring bolts are all torqued down. So whenever I torque down leaf spring bolts, I like to put the tires on it and I like to back it out of the shop and just kind of jump in the bed and jump on the bumper and stuff like that, just to make sure that the leaf springs are nice and settled and where they want to be. But we have a lot of cool plans for this truck in the future. Let me know some ideas in the comments of what we should do to this truck. We kind of want to do a rock crawler style build with this right here. And we're probably gonna do gears, lockers, maybe a winch bumper, maybe some sliders. I don't know, let me know in the comments what y'all think and what y'all would like to see us do to this square body right here. But anyway guys, that's probably gonna do it for this video. I really appreciate y'all watching. If you don't mind, hit that like button and make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss out on any further content that I put out on my channel, especially with this truck right here, because I definitely want to put this truck back on the channel. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see y'all next time.
Really, really, really ridiculously good looking.